Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you find yourself in this weird, wild, wacky world of ours, and welcome to the exciting episode of Vampire the Requiem, Requiem for London. Because I've decided I must say that as if I am some kind of World War II correspondent announcing another Luftwaffe attack, but that's neither here nor there. This evening's scene will take place in the All Saints Church in the borough of Camden. A Black Mass, as is held once a week. Joshua Bainforth, having just been made the new Bishop of Camden, will invite all of those faithful and even those onlookers who choose to merely come in order to enjoy the words of God to attend. The building itself is small and modest. It is a church that's more than likely is done in the Baroque style, but then again, we shall see. Stained glass windows spilling down light from the moon. The building itself being lit obviously by electric lights. The kindreds milling about before the service is due to begin. And we will have our fine compatriots join us in the form of one Marcus Irons. He shall enter first. Yeah.
Marcus, who has been enjoying a surprisingly comfortable laying low at the circus, thought since the invitation was extended and he had never seen a black mass before himself, thought, what could be the harm? Comes in surprisingly well dressed for the evening's occasion. One could almost say a Sunday best. Finds himself a seat in the back rows of the pew and just gets comfortable and looks a bit around, enjoying the atmosphere. If nothing else, it reminds him of the odd Sunday Mass that his long-suffering wife had often would drag him to, even though he himself was never particularly a religious person. He seems to be reasonably enjoying himself and awaiting what shall come this night.
Next, we'll have Miss Natalia. Yes.
Yeah, Natalia is not dressed for church. She's in punker getup. Mm, she she actually stands outside for a moment, just looks up the place, shakes her head very lightly, and just seems to think about it for a moment or two. And she'll a bit begrudgingly just walk in. She'll look around. She'll light a cigarette, and she'll just go over somewhat close to Irons. She'll just sit down. She won't say anything.
Marcus gives her a nod. Evening.
Hello. So, you couldn't sleep either, or what?
I thought I'd give it a look, if for nothing else, so that I, have a better idea what the hell goes on at Lancashire Sanctum Mass. And since I've got nothing better to do currently, eh.
Yeah, I was bored.
Fair enough.
And at the same time, quite anxious. I hate waiting for something that's about to happen, but yeah, when nothing happens, it really sucks.
Mm-mm. Fill up your reserves, get your armory ready, brief your men if you have any, or women. And apart from that, try to stay vigilant. That's the only thing I can really recommend.
Uh, sure. Even though I don't, I'm not in the army. Like, whatever.
It is at this moment that the lights will flick on and off, denoting the people should take their seats. You will smell the heady smell of incense as you see it drift down from the altar before a small clutch of individuals will walk out from a side door onto the altar. Joshua amongst them. He has in his hand a large leather-bound black book, which I believe, Marcus, you've seen a copy of in the form of the Testament of Longinus.
Yep.
He will bring the book to his lips before he will kiss it, and he will place it down on the lectern as he stands at the pulpit. He will then open the book and he will say, "Children, tonight my lecture is going to be about the nature of the beast and the fact that upon this earth we are God's right hand, his executioners, those whom will lead the flock back when it is the flock have strayed. Ultimately, good and evil do exist within this world, and though it is that sometimes we must do evil deeds, we are ultimately scions whom walk within God's light. There are many who have fallen to the wolves. There are many who have become wolves themselves. There are many who cut, rip, and tear at the innocent flesh of humanity, society. We must be the ones who drive back these lingering threats into the darkness where it is they crawled from. We must be the avenging sword in the hand of the righteous. And in many cases, we must be the righteous ourselves in order to see to it that peace and stability are maintained. As Longinus wrote, so it is that as I look out upon this world, I see this world a clash against itself, a war against itself. And I knew that upon this rock, when my church was built, that we would tip the scales so that evil could never stray too far afield, whilst it was noble souls in the form of God's executioners still remained. He opens his arms wide. Let us pray. I'm not going to do this for 30 minutes because that would give me a brain aneurysm. However, there are some cool, nifty mechanical effects that you guys get. So for listening,
I'm just picturing the ringmaster just opening his coat, just pointing to some stuff and like, "You want this, kids? Huh? You want this? Want some bonuses?"
I know, right? But no. So for a start, he did roll an incredible success from the point of view of he's actually it was above an accept. He got like 8 successes. So that was a damn fine sermon, even if you're an atheist. That was a damn fine sermon. Also, until it's resolved, each of you will gain the Raptured condition.
Ooh, what does that do?
Because of his anointed merit. The Raptured condition, if you wish to know.
Yep.
Your character is filled with the glory of God's admonishment of the grace of her damnation. She finds an unsettling harmony with her beast due to the fiery words of Longinus. She does not need to use willpower to ride the wave, and can ride the wave on 3 successes instead of 5. And that is active until you fail your next frenzy check to ride the wave. So there you go. Enjoy the gifts of Longinus. You might want to just blue book that you have that condition until it's resolved.
This is something you register, right? This is something that can be felt more or less instantaneous, or
it's something like from my reading of it. Hang on, I'll actually read the merit itself just so you get an idea. I've jumped away from the merit to read what Raptured does. I'm bad at this. Do you? It's not necessarily like it's not a magical effect. So it's more so
okay.
as you listen to the words. It's like people being whipped up, if that makes sense. Like people listening to.
No, it was actually more like exactly that question. Like, is it some sort of power, or is it like, wow, this guy's good? Like, wow. I mean,
It's
I
literally
really,
from my reading of it. I'll actually just get it because I'm actually like you guys can. I'll actually give it to you guys to interpret because that seems only fair to me. Not all the sanctified are members of the clergy. Most are lay members. The anointed under the damnation of Longinus wield their words like a firebrand. Once per chapter, roll presence plus expression when preaching to a crowd. A small clique of listeners gives a -1 dice penalty. A small crowd is -2. A large crowd is -3. I rolled with a -3 dice penalty because I'm just thinking he's preaching to a mass. Listeners gained the raptured condition. So I assume it's literally just he is the way he talks is good at stirring something in you, if that makes sense. It's not magical
fair
in
enough,
nature.
because
There you go.
my character would be like, maybe be like, what the fuck did you just do to me? But she's not going to do that because that's not how that works.
Nope.
Marcus is
It's
now
just
just one, yeah, and Marcus is just wondering why he's having a DMT flashback.
So with the service over, people will stand up. Joshua goes out to the door of the church and he'll shake hands with everyone as they leave. Very traditional ministerial kind of thing. But when most of the people have filtered out of the church, he will say, "I am pleased to see you, Master Irons. Fardingdale informs me that you had a very interesting conversation as to the nature of your faith the other evening."
I was surprised how deep our conversation went. Insightful, to say the least.
Yeah, people have this odd perception of him just because he dresses like a clown that he is one, or rather that the clown means that he is in some way silly.
I personally always angled him more to use the clown, since there are a lot of people who are afraid of clowns, but what do I know?
Exactly. I mean, I'm sorry for butting in, but honestly, clowns freak me the fuck out. Like, I would be very
It-
much less
I
willing to go to a priest if he's dressed like a clown.
I would guess that it has to do with the uncanny valley, that maybe people think that the smile painted on is just false or sinister. Nah, I could be wrong. I personally always enjoyed the clowns at circuses.
It would help. He's actually an incredibly good clown. You should get him to make you a balloon animal sometime. I'm not
Marcus
joking.
repeatedly sort of opens and closes his mouth as he sort of raises the finger and then puts it down again, not
I
quite
have to
knowing
point this
what
out
to
because
answer.
it's funny that I tell you this because I don't think he'll mind. Anthony literally has dots on his sheets in craft. The craft is literally craft clowning,
Oh, yes.
which I think is the best thing ever.
So, like, everyone who comes here is like within the like are made like with the church, all right?
What do
Like
you
on the
mean,
normal
mate?
circumstances.
I don't understand the question.
Oh, part of the sanctum thing.
No. Many of our members are part of the Lankea, but it's not many people come here, even if they are members of other covenants. It's not at all uncommon.
Yeah, it's commendable, I suppose. So, Natalia just looks around. She just. I suppose you believe everything you say. I mean, I know you do, but
I find that it helps in nights where there is so much pain and confusion, death and misery, to think about a higher power. The fact of the matter is that when you put your hands into the hands of God, he is the one person who will never withdraw his hands.
With just in general, have you looked at the world? Like, if there is any plan, whoever has written or got this started with the plan is either not existing or has left the shop quite a while ago. Just a thought.
Joshua shrugs. Maybe. Maybe not. The thing I think that you're missing, Miss Belanco, is we do not deal in certainties. However, we do deal in absolutes. We do not deal in maybes. We deal in truths and lies. We don't deal in we don't deal in today, we deal in tomorrow. And we don't deal necessarily in answers, we deal in faith.
All right. You know what? Let's cool. Like, to each his own. That's commendable in a way. Well, not really, but kind of.
When we pray to God, he answers our prayers in a very physical, very tangible sense. We wield the powers of God.
Or something else gives you things that you think is from God. And look,
No.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it's just like those beautiful words. Don't get me wrong. Like, you're really good. Like, I get why you're kind of a famous guy now, because your stage presence is like on point. I got to say, but like, really, I just don't get it. Like,
so I'll let you in on a little bit of a trade secret, which is interesting because as a magician, we should never reveal our secrets. But I am quite an advanced member of my society's mystical tradition, even sorcerers, however you want to phrase it. And whenever it is I pray, and whenever it is I call out the words in order to do anything, like I could turn water into wine if I wanted to, and I have done. I could turn water into blood if I wanted, and from your perspective, it would be no different than the blood you would draw from a fresh, throbbing vein. Trust me. But every time I do that, and every time I perform a miracle in God's name, I feel his hand on my shoulder, and I know that he is guiding my steps. It's not just a matter of perspective at that point. It's a matter of feeling the truth.
fair enough. So, how have you guys been? Like, doing all right? Like, anything problematic happen, or are we good? I don't get out too much.
Other than, of course, the unfortunate fact that Mr. Irons is currently very high on the police most wanted list, I believe that we're currently all quite well.
Oh, fuck. What did you do?
Marcus, who has been just for a solid minute been looking at his hands and occasionally poking them, looks up. Me? I didn't do anything. I was actually trying to do my best to patch up what somebody else did.
So you did do something.
And is it me, or am I just having a flashback and he's looking at the back of his hand somewhat distractedly?
Well, not the psychiatrist, the therapist, but you seem fine.
Maybe I just look fine. Maybe I'm just hiding it. It was a fucking slaughter. Better not think about that. And he's still looking at his hands.
Look, if you're, this is serious. Okay, so what are you feeling up for answering or talking about it or not?
Everyone wants me to relive that moment.
Fair enough, but if you want my help, if you want to help to get this, have this go away, or help you doing that, I need some
Information.
lowdown on the situation when you get the chance.
Okay. Seriously, is it just me, or does none of you feel different? It sort of happened during the mass. I'm having a hard time explaining it. It's weird. I haven't felt this peaceful in ages.
I was moved. Like I was moved. Sure. Like I feel pretty good. Like, but that's like when you're like at a good concert or like if someone has really like emotional speech or you drop like some really fancy drugs, like you know.
Yeah, this is feeling a bit as if I were on a DMT trip. Far out.
Joshua, for the record, for his part, has just gone up to the altar, and you just see him basically like cleaning up after the mass. Like, you know, he daubs away some spilled blood that's gotten on the altar, because obviously I think they do their own version of drinking the blood of Christ, but I think they do it with actual blood.
Yeah.
So you just see him like he's basically just cleaning up the place.
Are you okay? And like, do you want me to call like get a Uber or something for you?
Better not, just in case that they have started plastering my face. Mind you, I didn't give them a name, but still, one person saw my face as I was miming the housekeeper. That was just okay. Marcus slaps himself on the face, trying to focus.
Hey, Ayers, like when you leave, just let me know. I'll accompany
you. Yeah, but that would be a good idea. And he smacks himself nice and hard in the face, and he seems to focus. Okay. So, and Marcus sits down and gestures for Natalia to do the same. You'll want to sit down.
Oh, fuck. Okay. She does so.
Okay, so the night before the broadcast was set out that Julian's sister became the victim of a drive-by. We were looking around his old ancestral home because we had just decided to form a coterie, and it seemed like a good base, plenty of space. You know, relocate, get my my few belongings there, and you know. Anyway, so halfway through the night, I just happened to catch the news on the television, and Julian was relatively certain that the third party that was involved in trying to murder his sister might be showing up. So let's just say I used my mastery of some of my Covenant skills and I kept watch during the day while he was resting. To cut a long story short, come midday, there was a strong knock on the door. I look through the peephole. What do I see? 8 policemen in riot gear and 1 inspector. So, thinking on my feet and not having expected those kind of people to show up, I'll explain later why that surprised me. I sent my dog off to wake up Julian. Tried to buy him as much time as I could. The arrest warrant was pushed through. One Inspector Bradley gave me the papers. I had a look at them. They seemed like a genuine arrest warrant for Mr. Goodman, who they suspected of having been involved in the tried murder of his sister, something that I very much doubt, due to conversations I've had with Mr. Goodman in the past. Anyways, yeah, I was miming the housekeeper. He came down. The inspector and him had words. He was being cuffed. I luckily had managed to convince the inspector to let me sit on a chair, which just happened to be in the shadiest part of the house. Yeah, so I was just trying to keep my cool, didn't give out my name, was hoping that Mr. Goodman could keep his cool until they put him in the van, at which point, when the police would have left, I would have called the Ordo and tried to, inform them and see if we couldn't find some stratagem to deal with it. But before they managed to put him in the van, his beast took over. And from there, it just became a very sorry slaughter. Marcus stops and takes a few deep breaths, clearly trying to calm himself.
Okay.
From what I've been able to ascertain from the newspapers and such, 8 police officers lost their lives. Joshua will say as he stops, as he puts down the chalice that he was polishing.
Yes. There was a chase. They pinned him down a few times, but he always managed to break free again. I mean, I'd heard tale of what we are able to do when we're in frenzy, but this was above human strength. But finally, what few policemen were left, they entered into the guest house, and let's just say that Mr. Goodman killed the rest. It was a horrible mess. I had the inspector beside me with my little dominate that I have. I couldn't think of anything better, so I implanted the idea in his head that Julian hadn't turned into this monster with horribly long fangs that had just ripped out the larynx of... Oh, it was terrible. And don't get me wrong, I've been in combat, I've seen limbs blown away from men, but this was only savage. And he stops and takes a few more breaths. His face
it's
paler.
fine. Like that's enough.
So after I got
You don't have to go any further. It's fine.
But anyway, the inspector got away. I managed to implant something that seemed more plausible, trying to well, let's just say put a band-aid on a really bad cut wound, and had him run away. There was so much death around me. I just couldn't bear thinking of having more. I ran outside, braved the sun, felt its scorching rays upon me, and managed to, with my dominate, shoot 2 more bystanders away that had just been jogging up to our position. They ran. Thankfully, nothing happened to them, as far as I know. Got my van, got Mr. Goodman in the back of the van, which thankfully hasn't got any windows. I managed to get away from the scene of the slaughter, and after managing to drive past some policemen who obviously hadn't been looking out for me, or maybe it was just sheer luck, who knows, managed to get into a dark alley, sunless alley, get in the back, call the Ordo, inform them of what happened, and one of headquarter ghouls got us a different vehicle. I took off the damn it, why doesn't the word want to come to me? And he rubs his temples. Yeah, of course, our number plates. Mine, ditched the vehicle, ditched my van, got the other one. Managed to get to Order headquarters. Had taken some rather strong roasting from the sun, but managed to get there without freaking out. And well, yeah. And then I was called by our dear Archon here, and gave him a report of what had transpired. And I've been laying low at his place ever since. The less I move around, the less likely they are to find me. Although they haven't said my name in the papers, someone saw my face, so as far as it's better for me to assume that they are looking for me than not, and then doing something stupid.
So the Ark, like, when she looks up, and she goes, "So, have you heard any, like, done anything or heard anything other than?"
No.
That was to the Archon, to Joshua. Joshua. Joshua, have you heard, like he told you, like, some time ago, apparently. I mean, have you heard or done anything about this situation, or should I perhaps go and fix things? Well, try to begin to fix things. I mean, he's gone.
Yeah. I'm sure he'll be back in a sec.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. For some reason, it lagged out to thing.
Oh, okay. Natalia just asked you whether or not this whole situation, which Irons has informed you of if you've taken any action to resolve it.
It's a complicated answer. The Ordo have been shielding the individual in question from any further punishment that many of us feel he should more than likely, well, be rendered to. Many people are baying for his blood. I'm sure you probably heard the 2 harpies for once are in unison in what they find distasteful, which is amazing. But this is a major breach of the masquerade. an almost fatal breach of the masquerade if it wasn't for the likes of Mr. Irons. All we would have needed is one policeman and is one police inspector informing his superiors about monsters with fangs snapping restraints. And frankly, I don't know how well this would have all gone down, but the Ordo have been protecting him, and until they let him go or until they hand him over, there's not much we can do.
Currently, that looks very unlikely to happen. He's been demoted down to the status of a fledgling, so
Well,
somebody else is minding him, for the lack of a better word.
sure, but I was thinking of your situation. Are we doing anything to clear your name, or at least so you're not going to get like fucking SWAT teamed if you get spotted?
I have been able to get rid of my telephone and also acquire a new name under a false one. I have one of my associates looking into what information he can gather about Inspector Bradley, since he was the one who saw me and was the inspector who I had made run away, implanting the idea that Mr. Goodman had been on some rather hefty drugs. Yeah, you might have
looks
heard
like
of
the guy who
Crocodile.
would do steroids, honestly. So it's not that far-fetched.
Yeah, I'm not this long to the whole masquerade, so I did the best I could.
But the sound of it, you did are more than good. Like you did, I mean, under the circumstances, quite well.
Thank you, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, I've got one gentleman looking into him and seeing what information he can get. I instructed the Kindred in question not to harm him, and not to put himself into too great a risk. This is, after all, a very delicate matter.
I know.
Sorry if this comes over wrong, but if you happen to know anyone who is good in organizing new, or shall I say, fake identities, that of course would be useful.
I might know someone. She smiles quite cheekishly.
That would
Might
be
happen
helpful.
that someone who is very good at it is very close to you. I don't know who it would be, but I don't know. Maybe.
I was also able to, let's just say, the two dear friends of mine, I was able to get to them, give them the information, and just tell them if the police were to ask. Very simple. They haven't seen me in days. They haven't got the foggiest idea where I am. Which is true, quite frankly.
Right.
Yeah, the less I can get them involved, the better.
That's how sits
Yeah.
there for a moment and just
So,
looks,
yeah.
and she just says, "Look, if you can owe me a favor, like a favor, I might be able to help you with the new ID thing."
Yeah. Now, here is the interesting part. Bishop Baneforth has offered to use his Theban sorcery to give me a new face, or to be more precise, to swap the face of a dead man with mine, and then have the body, show up in the Thames. And assuming that...
creepy as fuck, but okay.
Who are you telling that to? I still don't quite know what to feel about it.
Look, let me look into it. whatever you do is your business. But yeah,
Yeah, I really don't know what to think of that.
look, give
But
it a couple of
what kind
minutes.
of boon were you thinking of? Because I do know how the
Like, no,
boon
fuck
system
boons,
works.
fuck lent, fuck, like, just a favor. Like, if I need something from you, you help me out. Just to, you know,
Mm.
a solid, you know.
Okay, but nothing equivalent to a life boon, right?
No, fuck that.
Good, good. Because then I would have had to say no anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
but
That's why I
but yeah,
don't want to.
yes, because I
This
remember those
shitty
help.
thing that people used to like extort people for. Like, fuck that,
Uh,
boys.
yeah, screw that. I've been in the Middle East too long to let myself be that easily coaxed into a bad deal.
Yeah, fuck. Like, it's just I help you, so just remember. And when I need your help, then you do help me. That's all. That's it.
You scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Exactly.
And hey, for what are friends here for anyway? You help me out, I help you out. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, friend, well, you're a little bit too goofy to be a friend, but you know,
Oh,
it's
thank you
getting
very
there. It's getting
much.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
Just
smiling.
tread on the. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Just
she's
tread
obviously
on.
joking, but she's
But yeah, but Marcus has taken that the wrong way, and he just says, "Yeah, sure. Just kick on the lowest Avenger on the fucking totem pole. I know
look.
I'm a
Hey, hey, hey,
fucking
hey,
easy
hey! I'm
target."
joking. I okay. I know I shouldn't be joking. It was joke. Okay, that's it.
He exhales. Sorry, it's
I
just
know
been
you're an
all a
edge.
bit
I
too
shouldn't.
much.
Do you want to get out of here? Should we
You
like?
know what? If I could have one of those cigarettes, how about we just
Oh, no problem.
go outside and have a smoke? I need a smoke.
And the two will go outside and have a smoke. And since the host has left, I think that's why I'm trying to draw it to a close because
Mm-hmm.
the scene will automatically end in like a little bit if he's not back.
Okay.
I think. I'm quite sure. So
After a certain amount of minutes, yes.
so instead of us being mid sentence, I think we
Yeah.
should just come to a close. And I need to sleep. But thank you very much. And
Okay. So they're just out, and Marcus just go. Okay.
Natalia
Yeah.
will escort him.
Yeah. And 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 yeah, although the whole raptured thing is going on, he seems to be calming down a bit, getting more used to the condition.
All right, great. All right. Well, thank you very much, and see you later.
See you later. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching another scene in Chronicles of Darkness, Vampire the Requiem, a Requiem for London. A shame that our host sadly seems to have had to leave or is seeing technical difficulties, but in the name of also the other players, I wish you a good night. See you next time.